Since the late 1800s, there has been a growing appetite for the fashion industry around the world. Today, the fashion sector is worth $3 trillion and accounts for 2% of the world's total GDP. Chanel is one such century-old French fashion label that has been a major contributor to the fashion industry's success worldwide. The brand today does not need an introduction, but when you look at its founder's backstory, you realize that this luxury house had a very humble and hard beginning. Chanel, known for its stringent and luxurious image, began in 1910 as a modest millinery store in Neuilly-sur-Seine, France. Today, it operates over 310 boutiques and employs over 20,000 people worldwide under its name. Chanel is known for its distinct, timeless, sophisticated designs and styles. It manufactures high-end fashion clothing, wine, luxury watches, perfumes, and skincare products. The most well-known of its products are the Chanel suit, the little black dress, and the Chanel No. 5 perfume, the same scent that the beautiful Marilyn Monroe loved and wore every night. With a global market worth $15.3 billion, it is a known fact that Chanel ranks high among the fashion industry titans. But certain facts about the thriving company are unknown to most, like how this wildly successful business has a fascinating rags-to-riches backstory at its core. Coco Chanel, the iconic fashion designer behind the famous label, lived a life that brimmed with many ups and downs. Coco was raised in an orphanage after losing her mother and experienced numerous hardships during her life. In this video, we'll look at the inspirational life of Coco Chanel, the only designer listed on Time magazine's list of the 100 most influential people of the 20th century. Her hard childhood today serves as an example for many, highlighting how one's poor upbringing is not a mirror of their successful future. Coco Chanel's early life. Gabrielle Bonheur Chanel, popularly known as Coco Chanel, was born in Saumur, France on August 19, 1883 to salesman Albert Chanel and hospital laundry worker Eugenie. Of her 5 siblings, she was the youngest. The family was poor and lived in a run-down lodging house in Brive-la-Gaillarde. Her father, Albert, sold work clothes and had a nomadic existence, visiting market towns and selling his wares. A devastating time in Coco's life started with her mother's abrupt death from tuberculosis at the age of 32. During this time, her father felt that he couldn't care for the children and work simultaneously. So, he decided to send Coco and her sisters to the Albenzine Convent's orphanage. Coco was 11 years old when she was orphaned, even though her father was still alive. She was raised by the Congregation of the Sacred Heart of Mary nuns. The religious order established orphanages for the poor and rejected, which included abandoned children. Under the nuns, the youngster lived a frugal and strict lifestyle. The Roman Catholic orphanage significantly impacted her perception of family life. Coco was trained to sew at this orphanage and eventually became a proficient seamstress, which helped determine her future career. At age 18, after 6 years in the orphanage, she was assigned to the Notre Dame School in Moulins, a Catholic girls' convent institution. Birth of the fashion house, Chanel. In Moulins, Coco was hired as a seamstress and shop assistant in a draper's store on the Rue de la Orge, which sold items for the local gentry and blankets and garments for babies. Coco slept in a room above the shop. Looking to make more money, she sought a secondary career singing at the cabaret events, but her voice was not good enough for a stage career. It is reported that this is where she earned her nickname, Coco. One event that was particularly significant in Coco's life was her relationship with English military officer Captain Arthur Edward Capel. He met Chanel in 1909 when she was 26 years old, and the relationship reportedly started then. Captain Arthur Edward Capel was a very wealthy English aristocrat, and his fortune was reported to have derived from his family's ownership of coal mines in England. Coco's talents as a seamstress impressed Capel and led him to financing a store for her. The store was called Chanel Modes, located at 21 Rue Cambon, and was founded when Coco was just 27 years old. Her simple, elegant, and timeless designs immediately became favorites among society's elite, and the Chanel brand quickly rose to prominence. Given the success of her first clothing store just 3 years later, Coco opened her second Chanel store in Deauville, France in 1913. With funding once again provided by Capel, she specialized in extravagant attire made of silky soft materials such as tricots and jerseys. Coco had established a reputation for being at the forefront of innovation in fashion. Her early success inspired her to open another boutique in Biarritz. which thrived as a venue for the wealthy throughout the First World War. As the business grew, Coco Chanel expanded her outlets and focused on including other things like fragrances and jewels. By 1919, she was able to purchase the entire building and open a big fashion boutique in Paris on 31 Rue Cambon, in the center of the city's most fashionable district. The designer label had taken over 5 store premises on Rue Cambon in 6 years. Without underestimating and undervaluing her dedication and hard work, one may argue that her relationships and loyal friendships assisted her early success of Chanel. Post-war Chanel. The 1920s were a defining moment in women's independence, and Chanel, a feminist, saw the need to revolutionize women's clothing post-war. She began by freeing women from the shackles of the corset and promoting a casual but stylish wardrobe. She introduced key clothing items such as the collarless cardigan jacket, the floating evening scarf, the shoestring shoulder strap, and the bias-cut dress. Chanel No. 5. In 1921, the fashion mogul launched Chanel No. 5, her first and most famous perfume, establishing the brand as a significant manufacturer of fragrances as well as fashionable apparel. She invented the fragrance to represent the new lady of the 1920s. When the stunning American actress Marilyn Monroe revealed in an interview that she wore Chanel No. 5 every night, the scent garnered a great deal of attention. Les Exclusifs de Chanel, a fantastic scent collection, is also available from Chanel. It stands for several magnificent scents that are all related to Chanel's past and legacy. Little Black Dress. Coco is credited with popularizing the color black, which was previously infamous for being associated with mourning until 1926. Chanel featured a simple, straight, calf-length black dress with a few diagonal lines in American Vogue. It was something beautiful yet simple that spanned social classes and aided Chanel in becoming the label for affluent and fashionable clients. Hollywood and Chanel. After Hollywood tycoon Samuel Goldwyn personally requested Coco to design costumes for all of the big film stars at his studio in 1931, the Chanel brand went global for good. This incident solidified her place in history as a fashion icon, and by 1935 she had a chain of boutiques employing more than 4,000 people. Coco Chanel also advanced as a fashion innovator, creating new and distinctive styles of jewelry that mirrored expensive jewelry. The timeless classic Chanel purse, designed by Coco Chanel in 1929, was another market triumph that united beauty, fashion, and utility, just like the previous Chanel masterpieces. Challenges faced by Chanel. As a 100-year-old brand, Chanel has experienced several hurdles throughout its journey. One such incident was when Chanel's boutiques were forced to close in 1939 due to the eruption of World War II, leaving many of its employees jobless. During this time, Coco Chanel found herself in a more scandalous and grave situation where she was accused of being anti-Semitic due to her romance with a German officer named Hans Gunther von Dinklage. After a series of post-war interrogations over her claimed sympathies for Germany's cause and her political views, she relocated to Switzerland, where she remained until 1954. During this time, the company stayed closed for several years. When Coco Chanel returned to the fashion industry after 16 years in 1954, the brand suffered to a great degree due to rumors about her association with the Nazis. Aged 71, Coco decided to revive the brand as she felt that men were dominating French fashion at the time. As she had done after World War I, she used her distinctive designs to launch a new wave of post-war women's clothing. She had influential and celebrated people like the US First Lady Jackie Kennedy and other celebrities like Jane Fonda, Elizabeth Taylor, Grace Kelly, and Jean Moreau wear Chanel. This move effectively persuaded potential buyers to follow in their footsteps, and as a result, her post-war label was triumphant in the United States and the United Kingdom, but less so in her home country of France. Coco's legacy. A feminist at heart, Coco redesigned women's clothes that had been highly constrictive, conservative, and impractical for daily activities. She created more straightforward and useful designs and pioneered the introduction of women's suits and trousers, which had never been done before. The modernist designer passed away in January 1971 at the age of 87 in Paris at the Hotel Ritz, which had served as her residence for more than 30 years. She left behind a legacy that has captivated fashion-conscious shoppers around the world for more than a century, and after her passing, the incredible Chanel staff continued to contribute to the legendary brand's survival, and it continues to beautifully and successfully evolve in the 21st century. German fashion designer Karl Lagerfeld was appointed chief designer in 1983, who greatly revitalized the company's image. He drew influence from Chanel's past while giving traditional textiles a fresh spin. After Karl Lagerfeld passed away in 2019, the fashion designer Virginie Viard took over and is now in charge of this illustrious luxury brand.